followed Sangoma Society for any amount of time, one thing you may have noticed is that we often talk about the moon. Today, I'd like to get into how the moon connects to African spirituality. Hello and welcome to Sangoma Society, where we demystify the ancestral. My name is Uhani Wagamakwakwa. I am Honey Tell a Story on all social media platforms, and today I'm going to be talking about the moon and its sacred connection to African spirituality. Where I'd like to start today is language. As we know, language carries history in its own self. Where we start today is with the Zulu word Inyanga. Inyanga is the word for healer as well as the word for moon. So this tells us that intrinsically African healers were some way, somehow connected to the moon when this word was coined. Let's just go back in time. We needed to know when to plant, when to harvest, when to have which festivals. And one of the ways in which this was deciphered was through the cycles of the moon. Now, healers are not people who are abstract mystics, but rather those who have an understanding of certain languages that the universe uses to communicate with us and interpret them for laypersons in order for them to gain guidance on how to conduct their lives and businesses, etc. So you can see how it became that Inyanga and the moon were ultimately interconnected. So why would the moon still be of any significance now that we live in modern times and there's, calendars that exist, apps that can tell us all this information, that decipher it for us? What is the continued significance of the moon? Well, one of the things that the moon does is influence us, whether we like it or not. As human beings, we are under the influence of the stars, just like the tides of the ocean and the seasons that we cycle through as a planet. We are of this place, and being of this place means that we interact with the universe around us. And being able to interpret the influences that certain movements in the skies above us have over us as individuals assists us in how to navigate our day-to-day lives. And ultimately, that is what a healer is here for, to demystify how it is that the world around us and within us is actually influencing and impacting us in our day-to-day lives and influences and impacts our decisions. That's essentially the importance of astrology and its impact on African spirituality. Because with African spirituality, it begins with the relationship that we have with ourselves. The relationship that we have with ourselves influences the relationship that we can then have with our community, our ancestors, and our families. Umuntu ngumuntu ngabantu. The foundation of that is our relationship with ourselves. So the sooner it is that we're able to decipher what is influencing our own internal dynamic, the easier it will be for us to navigate the relationships we have with our ancestors and our communities when we understand the influences that are impacting ourselves at any given time. We want to help you to better relate to the cycles of the universe as we go through this madness of a thing called life. Just a few astrology basics can change the way that you go through any given month. Just knowing the power of the full moon, what it represents, the culmination that it represents, the release that it holds potential for, versus the new moon and the potential that it holds, and how you can use it for your manifestation can really shift your practice in terms of how you relate to your ancestors. Just like it shifted things for those who came before us. The rhythm of the cycles that they lived through still live on in us, in our epigenetic memories. We still carry those rhythms and cycles within ourselves. So when we feel those urges and they rise up and we know how to better tune into them, we can maximize our synchronicity with our ancestors. So basically bringing ourselves in tune with our ancestors and thereby using the cycles of the moon to better our relationships with our ancestors and improve our understanding and our practice of African spirituality. Our intention has always been to demystify the ancestral. So when you understand that you are the result of all the generations that came before you, you can appreciate that the tools that you use to understand yourself become the tools that you can use to better understand them. The moon is just one such tool. I hope that today's conversation brings you closer to understanding and building your relationship with your ancestors. Mina ngingumakhosi nomabuto emsamo. This is Sangoma Society. You can find us on all social media platforms at Sangoma Society. Until next time. Okay.